Hello. So today I'm joined by Rajive Silva, who's the Chief Exec of Azend. Rajive is joining us from Sri Lanka. So welcome, Rajive. I would really like you to just do a brief introduction to yourself and also to Azend, please.
Hi, Kerry. It's good to be here and lovely seeing you again. It's been a while since we last saw each other. So, yeah, I'm the CEO of Azend Technologies, Kerry, and I come with a 17-year experience in IT and a few other industries. Um, I have a very close relationship with the clientele in the UK, hence, it's really nice to be part of GSA and to be part of, a wider community. I've served in many an association, one of which I think you all are working very closely with SLASCOM here in Sri Lanka. I've been part of the Lanka Angel Network as an angel investor in the past. And my history goes back to almost 17 years in the industries that I've operated in. And it's fair to say that from all the industries, fintech has been the one that I've spent most time in. And I'm running a company here that is focusing on products. And I hope, during the conversation, I can tell you a little bit about what we do here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And welcome on board, a new member to the GSA. And we've been discussing all the sort of challenges and opportunities we've got ahead of us in the industry. Really, really exciting time for global technology and business services, huge amount of growth and opportunity. But we have one very significant challenge right now, and that is the global talent crisis. I'd be really interested to get your perspective on the talent crisis, which has been sort of like exacerbated really by the Great Resignation. So be interested to see your perspective, Rajive.
So, Kerry, when I started talking to you first, I think our discussions go sometime back, right? We were in the middle of the pandemic. So, right now, at a global level, the Great Resignation has affected nearly all industries. It's fair to say across all industries, right? I recall reading a report how nearly 40% of the global workforce was ready to leave their existing jobs, hence why the Great Resignation was coined together, whether to establish their own businesses or in search of greener pastures. Whether hospitality, whether it's in retail, leisure industries, these are often the ones that are quoted as the most impacted. And again, in a recent article on Fortune magazine, they say 73% of the CEOs say that the skill shortage will be the next critical business disruptor in the next 12 months. So that's a major statement and it's a major finding. A majority of this is due to the lack of tech talent to go around locally as the appetite for digital transformation rapidly grows in the post-pandemic landscape. The tech industry, having been shaken up a bit by the pandemic, is probably going through what some would call the great reconsideration. As the demand for IT services and products increases, more and more workers are looking at different ways of working remotely, working with global teams. So I feel the Great Resignation is something that all of us must spend a bit of time thinking about. It has definitely shifted quite a few paradigms in the way we look at things.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at the situation here in the UK, I believe we've got 1 million unfilled roles at the moment here, which is just, it's just bonkers. And then conversely, adding to that, the number of students wanting to take technology subjects in school has dropped by 40%. So, we need more and more software engineers, we need more and more business service professionals, yet we're not attracting people into these industries here in the UK. But what's your view and the stuff that you've been doing at Azend to help with this crisis?
So I think first and foremost, I must start with giving you some insight about how we have gone about doing this, right? I won't really call it the secret ingredient, but something that has worked for us. So we bring in a diverse cast to our board. To start with that, right? Half with over 30 years of experience, right? I think that's as experience, the kind of experience you'd love to have in a board, and then most of them having international experience as well. And the other half being millennials. I think all of us have been talking about this for a while, but I think we managed to strike a nice rich balance between that experienced board level members as well as millennials. Uh, who bring international business experience, but also the keen eye for change. So the culmination of these two have been quite essential and has really helped us to move forward quite swiftly. And our team beyond the board also contributes to the decision making process. Unlike in most boards, though we have checks and balances, they do kind of understand what operationally we go through, what the senior management, what the CXOs go through, and given the opportunity to challenge our strategies and add to them. So this has really worked for us. And secondly, is that in our strategy itself, we have incorporated the need for proprietary products and niche services in our offering. So why is this important? If you look at most people who are looking for jobs right now or trying to build a career, they are not just about going to a company to perhaps work on a project. They want to do something that really invigorates them, that really stirs up their feelings, whether it's helping an industry to go through a disruption, or whether it's to transform something, or whether it's to completely migrate to new platforms, right? So it's not just a one-off project that we're working on. It is something of a product that we're trying to build on the one hand, but also to extend our services that really allows some clients to meet their end goals. So these two areas help us to be forward-looking and adaptable, and at the same time attract and retain good talent, which, as we know, is a bit of a challenge right now, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago. This has given us the ability to have a strong sense of empathy to understand the issues that organizations and individuals face. As I said, having this mix of senior experts as well as the young millennials. And from a technology sector point of view, we have clients who are in industries facing the brunt of the great resignation. And some were struggling to find the right talent for their transformation initiatives. This is where our augmentation services found their form, leveraging on the ability to harness the global experience of our team to offer expertise at the click of a Teams call. Right? So maybe some time ago, this would have been a bit of a tough one, right? People would still say, look, we want the team to be here, but we've offered them, they'd be none the wiser. They are just on the other side of a laptop, if at all, instead of sitting right opposite you. In addition, we have seen a lot of the challenges faced when employees want to work from home, explore different options, not to mention the so-called great reconsideration, where employees find themselves questioning the qualitative personal returns of the work they do as well, whether they're in a job or whether they're pursuing a career. I'll talk about it a bit later, maybe if I'm given the opportunity. But it was this differentiation that really led us into developing our talent sourcing solution, which really has been, kind of solution to address some of the problems that we just spoke about.
Yeah, so we've got a number of issues that we're juggling here. We've got attrition, we've got increasing salaries. People are hopping all over the place because they're getting paid a whole host more, next door. And then we've got the whole open talent piece. So we launched the Open Talent Forum within the GSA last year, which was really looking at the fact that it's the biggest game changer impacting the service provider community. They can't just fulfill on the projects and programs they're running for their clients using their employee base. They need to be tapping into the open talent community, because so many people want to work for themselves. I think it's Gartner research that says by 2025 there have been more freelancers in the US than actual employees. So so what is it that Azend is doing to help with the whole approach between those people working in careers versus those people working for themselves?
So as we embarked on a solution to this career, let me put it like that, was a bit of a quest for us. It was a bit of a journey figuring out how do we tackle this so-called problem. We know what the problem is on the one hand, but we need to find a solution, right? So we realized immediately when we asked around the room, there was a big understanding or misunderstanding between a job and a career. People in the past have gone in search of jobs. So whereas a job is something purely transactional, something you do for money, right? And something prevalent in the brick and mortar companies, where you run the 8 to 5 grind, and sometimes you feel that you must feel yourself out of bed in the morning to get your place of work. Very transactional in nature. Uh, it's a common feeling. Most of us have felt that some point in our journey. Of course, it's fine if you need to take a job to pay the bills. You may not always have the luxury to be, be too selective about it. Whereas a career, we understood when we asked around the room, we not only did this amongst our leadership team, but across the company and even amongst our colleagues outside of the company. Whereas a career carries something aspirational, long-term endeavor that allows you to weather the uncertainties around the world, right? Whether it's during a pandemic and God forbid in times of acts of God, right? Some other cases, um, something you build towards and work on every day, driven by passion. When you think about it, it gives you a glint to your eye and a drive to your soul. You believe in it and you love doing it. And when you find it, work doesn't feel like work anymore. So that was one of the first things that we ended up, understanding. So if you were to ask me how did we go about figuring out what to do about this, which was a common problem across the board, so we went back to the fundamentals of design thinking, customer-led journey, right? Empathy. So the ability to understand a problem and how people perceive it is a key part of design thinking. So what we understood from the Great Resignation is that it has paved the way for the open talent economy, as you mentioned. The post-pandemic landscape has driven rapid innovation and post-digital disruption across the globe, demanding new talent models that can change overnight. Organizations have requirements for talent by uh, the way they required digital change several years ago, focusing on agility and scalability, which of course is the need of the hour right now if you speak to any company out there. We never wanted to reinvent the wheel because obviously we had technology that was already available. It was a matter of putting it together, harnessing the best of all of this to come up with a solution. So we wanted to build a platform that leverages the power of thoughtful technology so that we can cater to this growing need, both for businesses and to support job seekers. So bringing them together by giving businesses the ability through our platform to headhunt and source candidates based on their specific requirements and have them vetted and validated at scale. Now, you'd notice in most job sites, you'd have people who apply for jobs and people who post jobs. What we are trying to do is a little different in not only giving them a roadway or a roadmap towards even going for something which may not be fitting the exact profile right now, but that gives them a chance to perhaps try it out later by equipping themselves with new skills. Um, so before they even step into an office, we are helping organizations in the region across the world to challenge the norms of talent sourcing and management. We also see that today the world has become a very small place with companies hiring talent across borders for opportunities that are now possible with remote working. So if you look at your own country, you said you've got a shortage. So this is something that in the past was seen as a bit of a taboo word, right? Outsourcing. It's not the case anymore. World has become global. Some companies would require certain types of skills that may not necessarily be available in their country. And what are they to do? Shut the business down? No. So they would have the opportunity to now go across the borders. So through our platform, global companies looking to hire from out countries like Sri Lanka, for that matter, can head down for talent from our database by shortlisting from the specific skill set they are looking for. This is a little different to what you see in elsewhere, where it's just a matter of you having someone uploading your CV and going through a database which might not necessarily fit exactly what you're looking for, simply because they've just outlined their current skills. We of course give the candidates perhaps a shorter path to even trying out other areas that may be close enough for them to try out. So it gives you a bigger scope to go after as an employer. And as an employee or a job seeker, it gives you a lot more potential to look at other opportunities out there, not necessarily what you've been doing all during your past life. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, we see job seekers looking for an opportunity in a very volatile world. With the changing world of work and changing expectations, Kerry, we are partnering up with some associations, quite a few multiple associations in the country to bring in more opportunities for our youth, whether it is visibility to employers or support to create sustainable career paths through skill development and advice. We are also big believers in building transparency in the process for job seekers and build this in as well. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of the technologies that we've used. So this is a continuous journey, Kerry, right? We see our platform becoming so much more than just what it is right now. right? It's not just another platform where you would have come across in the past where people apply and you find a job. We see it really being, able to revolutionize some of the mundane tasks that a recruiter must do, right? You would have had recruiters going through heaps of CVs, sending it across in bulk and getting rejected, right? It's going to be a little bit more filtered process. And we specialize in technologies thanks to the skill level that we have in deep learning, AI, blockchain, that is blockchain especially. And we want to see how we can leverage this technology to provide a much more hassle-free experience for recruiters and job seekers alike. So combining some of the best practices both regionally and internationally, we are trying to bring out a product that can hopefully being the underlying word, solve a few problems faced in the industry today. So I'm hoping that by the time we finish this conversation over the next days and weeks, you'll see a lot more interest, amongst people to look at this differentiation between a job and a career, and see what solutions are out there to help both the employee and the job seekers. And we are just giving one such solution that we've come up with, which so far has helped a lot of the people who've been left behind.
Right, okay, that's fantastic. So you've got some really cool tech, and that cool tech can be repurposed and used in different areas as well. I think you were mentioning how that tech could also be used to help with the sustainability challenge. Do you want to expand on that just very briefly without giving any competitive intelligence away?
Yeah, so Kerry, you're right. So if I'm to talk a little bit about a few examples, so let's take blockchain as an example. I think, as you know, if you're looking at sourcing people globally, you need to have access not only to their basic profile, but also some sort of validation. You know, maybe their medical reports, right? Of late, people, despite them working remotely, would still expect to make sure that the employee is properly vaccinated, as an example. So, how do we ensure that the employer sitting maybe thousands of miles away knows that the person who's being recruited or who they're contracting with has the right credentials, have done the background check. So, our blockchain technology that we're using is aimed at being able to provide that kind of validation. So it's part of the roadmap that we have planned. So sooner than later, you'll see employers being able to not only validate the employees or the job seekers, it makes it a lot more smooth as well. So you don't need another team having to vet these documents and go through it, because your platform would already do that and give it to you, because that's what blockchain does. It gives you the ability to validate and assure you that he is who he claims to be, so long as that the blockchain platform is properly used.
Yeah, it's mind blowing when you think about the art of the possible. It's really, really exciting. So, just to wrap up, I just wonder if you've got any additional comments on what you've been doing different, and what how your platform operates different to any other platforms out there, and also what your view is on the future of work.
So I think I'm not going to spoil the surprise. I think those who are interested in having a look at the platform can do so themselves. I'll share the details with you, Kerry, and when you do maybe publish this video, you can share the details as well. But in terms of the future of work, at a micro level, I believe that we'll see work become more dynamic, right? Whether it's working from home in London or remote working from a tropical island such as Sri Lanka, right? Technology has opened the way for individuals and organizations to operate and connect through the tougher situations without any delays or latency, right? I'm sure, it opens up so many opportunities. Those who might want to come to Sri Lanka and work out of Sri Lanka in a more tropical climate during winter may do so without having to even worry about taking leave for extended periods. Ultimately, whether it's the Great Resignation or a pandemic or any other global shift, what ensures that organizations, technology, and individuals alike stay ahead of the game is the ability to harness the information around them and innovate at scale. Partnerships built through associations such as GSA go a long way in diffusing these innovations faster and further across the globe. So I think I appreciate what GSA is doing. we are not only able to absorb the best practices that are already been tried and tested, Kerry, and some of your forums have had a wealth of knowledge, and we've absorbed a lot of that. And we are here to also contribute back to the GSA membership and the wider community as to how we can fix some of these problems. Whilst the pandemic has had its uh, cons, I would say the pros have been, despite having limited travel, we've still managed to make new connections. And I think during this period, I may have made a lot more connections that I would otherwise have made when I was traveling, right? Purely through taking part in virtual conferences, I would have met a lot more people. And I hope, in a way, even if world opens up and we do start traveling, which I hope we would, because we are social creatures and we want to enjoy the sights and sounds around the world. I hope this, technology also allows us to build closer relationships, address certain problems, sort out without whatever I've shared goes a long way, overcome some of the difficulty, resignation, or the shift in how people work.
No, absolutely, absolutely. You broke up a little bit towards the end there, but I think I captured and caught what you were saying. So, for sure, the world of work has changed forever. People aren't fully going to be going back into office environments and traveling all the time. This way of working, the way that you and I are working and talking right now, is really where it's going to be for the majority. And I, for one, if it wasn't for the children, I, for one, would be very happy working and doing some of my GSA work from a tea plantation in Sri Lanka. So I've got to work on that one. Maybe I'll send them to boarding school or something. But,
I'm sure you'll be welcome back here pretty soon, Kerry. And yes, as I said, why not travel the world? I love traveling. I'm sure a lot of people do. And you don't need to worry about staying in a cubicle anymore and going about your routine work. You can actually be, as we did last week, right? We had a gentleman who was joining us from the foothills of the Himalayas, right? And tomorrow you might have someone you never know, on a beach in Hawaii, and still with a virtual background, making sure nobody knows that he's in Hawaii, still join a conference call in London.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So we were having this conversation that we talk about it being open talent, because it's this new thing. I think in a year's time, it's just going to be called talent, because we're understanding that is the new way of working, and and technology is going to be driving that, and the art of the possible is really, really very exciting, and I can't even begin to comprehend where this might all go. But thank you so much for joining me today, Rajive. It's lovely speaking to you, and I look forward to sharing more of the information and the great solutions you guys at Azend Technologies are developing. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Kerry, and keep up the good work that GS is doing. And I look forward to being part of your forums and council meetings and see what value we can share, and also, absorb whatever the knowledge that the community has.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you. Cheers, Rajive.